the one, the only, Bencio.
Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Table Enabled. As we finish another week of Shulchan Aruch Yomi, every Thursday is very exciting for me because this is my own personal project, Shulchan Aruch Yomi. Daf Yomi I do. It's really, part of a bigger cycle. Mishnah Yomi is a newer cycle, but everyone is part of that cycle. And I have to do it 7 days to keep up with everybody else. Shulchan Aruch Yomi has not yet been introduced to the masses. It started with me. It'll end with me. And I'm very excited to be doing 275 today. They're at Ayin Reish Hey, but I like to say it the real way, Reish Ayin Hey, raw. It's not a terrible word. Just like Ayin Reish or Ayin Reish P's, Ra and Rav. I don't know, people get too Kabbalistic over here. Just because you say the word Ra does not mean that your life is going to be a bad life. It's a problem because you take this and you go further and you make your life crazy. Some people have big OCD problems. They kiss the mezuzah before they go to sleep like 7 times. They do crazy until it's a dime. They watch 10 times. It's very problematic, and that's why I highly don't like the fact they switch around these letters. Today's halachas deals with reading something or haner using the light of a candle. Now we have electricity nowadays. It doesn't really apply. But it used to be that they only had candles, and you're not allowed to do certain things next to candles on Shabbos, whether it's the Shabbos candles or any other candle that you lit in your house. There's a concern that you might actually, if it's not lit well, you might actually tilt the light and make it light better, which would be possibly an Isser D'Oraisa, possibly an Isser D'Rabbanan. It depends, right? If it's basically going out, it's on its way out. That would be a Malach of Havara. If it's just not lit well, you're lighting it a little better. That's something I call Mosif B'Shiurim, which would probably be Asr Midrabanan. Either way, it's something the Chazal didn't want you to do. Aleph, in Poland, Perish Levaris HaKinim Begodim, if you have kinim, you have lice on your begodim, on your clothes, and you want to take it off your clothes to see them very small. You can't do that because you want the light. You need the light to see the small bugs. So you might tilt the light. Vein koren b'sefer learner. You can't read a sefer again with small letters. You might tilt it. Even if he's reading in his mind, he's not reading with his mouth. Shema yata. You might come to tilt the candle. Afilu gavo eser komos. The Gemara includes this, even if it's 10 stories high, the light, and you have a little light coming from 10 stories high. You can't get there. They did not make any chilukim. Lo plug, it's called, right? If they made the gzera in one case, it applies in all cases. Let's say it's in basically a container, it's in a glass covering, right? And you can't get to it. Let's say the glass container is locked. You can't use that light, even though there's no way of getting to it, or it's in a hole in the wall. You can't get to the candle, right? It only goes out by itself. And similarly, with a candle of wax, right, which don't have a problem of ever, right? It's the same light the entire time. The light of shaiva, of wax candles, basically never dissipates. It's never a problem. Therefore, we ask her in all of these 3 cases because of low plug. Now, all these cases are not in the Gemara. This is brought by, the case of shaiva is brought in the Gemara, but the case of ashashis and a glass container and a hole in the wall is brought by the Torah in the Beis Yosef. I disagree with them. I'll tell you why. And even to lean on Beis v'davka echad. It's only when one person is reading by the candle. Al shnayim karim biyachad. 2 people are reading. We'll see from the same sefer together. Shim ba echad lahatos. One person tries to move the candle. Yaskirenu chaveru. His friend will remind him, and therefore he has a heker. He has something which reminds him. V'hu shekarim binyan echad. They have to be reading the same thing. She'az yashkiach echad mashi yaseh chaveru. But b'sheinei inyanim lo. If they're reading from 2 different things, 2 different topics. No, this makes sense to me that if they each have their own book, right? Even though they're reading the same topic, who cares they're reading? They're both reading Harry Potter, but it doesn't matter, right? It has to be they're reading from the same book, right? The same thing together. They're reading together. So one person will be cognizant of the other person is doing. We also shouldn't say the Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos. Again, Yom Tov, you're allowed to tilt the light. There's no Isser of Havar for anything which is beneficial to you on Yom Tov, but it falls out on Shabbos, there is an Isser. So therefore, to read Piyutim, special poetry by Chazal, you can't read it by the light, even the base HaKnesses. Says Gimel, Mish Achar Imo, Afilo Eno Korev, Omer Lo, Tein Daitcha Alai Shalo Yete. If I have a shomer, you appoint someone, you stand here and make sure I don't tilt the candle. Mutter, Omer Kain Isha. You can say this to your wife. No, I don't think this is good for Shalom Bayis to make your wife. You're going to learn at night on Friday night, and your wife is just going to stand there watching for you. You have to pay the person to do that. No one can do this for free. An important person, a VIP person, that he doesn't touch the candles. He has a shamash. He has a butler who would come over, a personal servant who would come over and do it for him. He's allowed to because he's not going to tilt. Hey, if you have a big bonfire, even 10 people reading together can't read together. They're sitting far from each other. The pieces of wood are close to them, more close than by a candle. You don't see our friend who's going to do it discreetly while you're looking away. If you have young school children who are learning by the Ner, as long as I assume the Rebbe is there, right? They're afraid of the Rebbe. They're not going to do an Avera while the Rebbe is watching them. The parak of Melikin, we say every Friday night, you can read that by the candle. It's talking about these halachas. How are you going to forget? In Yom Kippur, you could read the piyutim by the machzor or by the candle, because Yom Kippur you're more afraid during the regular year, and you're not going to be mata. There's no hitter of ochel nefesh on Yom Kippur. Lel Pesach chaliyos b'Shabbos. Lel Pesach falls down on Shabbos. Mutar ligros haggadah b'sefer. You can read that Haggadah by the light of the candle, which is heavy cane roshe prakim. Most people are familiar. We're going to see in a second. If you're familiar with the text, right, you just look at it casually to just remind yourself of the main parts, right? So we're not concerned that you're gonna. The whole concern is you're gonna get so engrossed in the book that you're reading, you're gonna come to tilt the candles. Even Am Aretz knows the Haggadah pretty well. Yud harav yachol liros la'arner mehechan yikra tinokos l'sad roshei aparshios. Right, the Rav, the Rebbe who's teaching, right? He knows basically. Talking about Chumash, right? He knows basically what it says in the Chumash. He's just looking for the main parts, right, to remind him. The fifth b'sefer he could read, but Korah Kol Shar Parsha al Peh, the rest he's going to read from heart by heart, not using the sefer. V'roshei Parsha Lav Dav Gosh Yedei Parsha al Peh Ksas Sarach Liros b'sefer. Doesn't have to be the beginning of the prakim. You know most of it by heart. A little you don't know. Shari Shemach Hashem Ma'ayin b'sefer Tamid Islay Akira V'Loasti Latuye. Since he's not examining and dissecting this book and staring at it and squinting at it, he's not going to come to, he'll know that it's different. He won't come and tilt the candle. You want to pick out clothes on Shabbos. You have your t-shirts, your different t-shirts, got your Under Armour t-shirt, your Nike t-shirt, you're not sure which one you want to wear. You can't check it lower in there. But I feel the big day each though. Imhem domim also live though. You have clothes that are similar to your wife. She's got t-shirts, you got t-shirts. Yes, women also are allowed to wear t-shirts, of course, in the right times, privacy. If they're similar, you can't do that because again, you might tilt the candle. Yud Beis, Shamash, She'eno Kavua. Now, if your wife is with you, it's okay because again, you're doing it together. It's like two people reading Laraner. Yud Beis, Shamash She'eno Kavua. Also, live the kosos v'karos Laraner. If he's a new butler, he's someone you hired. You're paying him by the hour. He's not the live-in housekeeper. Also, live the kosos v'karos Laraner. He can't check the plates to see whether they're dirty. He doesn't know these plates, these dishes, and he's not familiar if they're clean or not. So he's gonna have to stare, and he might come to tilt whether it's shemen zayis or even something which smells very bad. She'oro rav. Hagav yesh ma'atirim b'shal neft afilu b'shamash enakvo. Some say neft, which smells really bad. You're not going to tilt because you're afraid of the smell. Aval shamash kavu. Let's say you have a housekeeper, someone who's always living with you, a live-in housemaid. Mutter lo livdok or hanera kosos. They're allowed to check. Meishaino sarach ian harbe. They know basically if it's dirty or not. B'maya ner shel shemen zayis. Eino more lo livdok. If it's a candle that's burning with olive oil, so we don't tell them to check. Aval bishu mutter gzero shemen yistapik mimenu shemen zayis. If you get too close to it, you might want to take some and rub it on your skin because it's very good. So therefore, it's it's better to tell them not to check using Shemen Zayis, a candle of Shemen Zayis, but technically it's mutter because we're not really choshesh. People are going to take oil from the candle, which would be mafchis b'shir, and maybe either machaber or mafchis b'shir, which would be also in the rights of the rabbanon. Hagunag l'chsos haktanim shlo yarumim pnei haneros shum bizoy mitzvah. I think this applies specifically to the Neros Shabbos. You should try to have your kids not naked in front of or you to be naked in front of the Neros Shabbos, because that's a bizoy mitzvah. I don't know about this. This is the Rokegan because of a Rokeach. The source of this is not clear. I don't know if it's always a bizayon to be naked. We shouldn't be embarrassed of our naked bodies, but you can take it for what it is. That's what he says over here, so maybe try to do it. Stay tuned for Ian Tolina, where I talk about a major question that one of the poskim asks over here. Who's the one that asked this question? The Taz, the first Taz on this simon, talks about the first halacha that even if it's 10 stories high, you're not allowed to use the light of the candle, even if it's not a lot, because low plug, right? And therefore, if it's in a glass container or in the wall, you can't use the ornair to read, or for any other purpose that needs scrutiny by the candles. However, we see in the following halacha, a lot of halachas, that if there's a heker, there's someone else reading with you on Yom Kippur, right? The Tinoka Shabes Rabban, the young school children with the Rebbe, they're afraid of him. If there's a heker, right? Well, Pesach, if you Rosh Prakim, if you know most of it, if there's a heker, there's recognition that this is normally different than what I would be reading with scrutiny by the Neiros. Then it's mutter because you're not going to come to Imata. So on one hand, sometimes we say low plug, and sometimes we don't say low plug. So the Taz tries to give an answer. I'll give you my opinion. Ian to lean on coming up next.